Hey, good morning. How you all doing? I'm hiding in the greenhouse this morning. It's Sunday morning, getting ready to head out for church. And some of you may know I've been reading in Daniel. And there's things that I'm reading. I've really never spent much time in Daniel. I know of Daniel in the lion's den. We know that the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego story came from that spot. Besides that, I haven't really put too much thought or attention to it, nor did I know that prophecies of the end times, including through Jesus' time and so on, and into the first, second, and third, fourth century, up till today, are written in Daniel. And now that I'm in chapter 7 and I'm reading this and I'm going, whoa, and realizing some things that Jesus said and quoted several times, a lot of it came from from Daniel. And one being the Son of Man. We know that saying. We hear it all the time, and Jesus said that. If you go back into history again, and even into the scriptures, you'll find the Son of Man mentioned a couple of times. At first, it did maybe have some form of meaning regarding humanity as someone as a leader. It went into the more realm of kings. Like King David's descendants would be considered son, or even the king would be considered son of man. And, we notice as we come in and towards Jesus' end, when he's being questioned, he was asked if he was the Messiah. Again, another word that we would assume, Messiah, that we associate with Jesus. The word Messiah could be royalty, could be a king. It was not necessarily someone who calls himself someone who is a deity or the Son of God, which would be more of the meaning of the Son of Man at that time, through Daniel. And we notice that scribe, that Pharisee, that priest, that judge, did not get upset when he said yes, that he was the Messiah. He was from the lineage of David, so that would make some sense. But he freaked out when he said, "I am the Son of Man." So that was something cool to read and understand. But what I'm noticing as I'm reading, right now I'm in chapter 7, and that's his dream that he had. And he didn't really tell anybody. He wrote it down for history, it seems. But Jesus spoke of many of these things. And there's one thing that I saw as he explains the dream, and then he asks the whatever it is, angel, whatever, to give him explanation. He says, he gave me this explanation. The 4 beasts is 4 kings, 4 kingdoms that will appear on earth. It will be different from all the other kingdoms and will devour the whole earth, trampling it down and crushing it. The 10 horns or 10 kings who will come from these kingdoms. After them, another king will rise, different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. He will speak against the Most High and oppress his holy people and try to change the set times and the laws. Other versions say change the season and the laws. The holy people will be devoured into his I got 2 pages stuck together that will not loosen themselves. And I still have 2 pages stuck together that will not loosen themselves for me to continue reading. This is amazingly funny. People don't want you to freak out, but hold on one second. I'll get it. Here it is. Oh. Wow, that was weird. His hands from a times and half a time. But the court will sit, and his power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. Then the sovereignty, power, and greatness of the kingdoms under heaven will be handed over to the holy people of the Most High. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will worship and obey him. This is the end of the matter. I, Daniel, was deeply troubled by my thoughts, and my face turned pale, but I kept the matter to myself. I think I would too. But as I read this, I read in John and many other places. I'm not going to bring those scriptures up today. I just want you to ponder on this thought for a moment. When we think of the Antichrist, we think of the end times. We think of death and destruction. We think of, all Christians being basically martyred if they, don't accept some sign of the beast. We think of all these things. But the fact of the matter, the little horn that Daniel speaks of, the fourth, the small horn, the Antichrist. The Antichrist was present throughout these scriptures and in these prophecies, and he's being prophesied. The spirit of the Antichrist himself, is being prophesied of several times over and over. Friends, he ain't the dragon that comes from the sea that Revelation speaks of. He's something totally separate. It says he will come to change times and law. We know the law that he's speaking of. We know that's not the law that we created today. We know it's not the law that we determine, our traditions, our doctrines, our theologies. That's the law he changed it to. We know the times or seasons are not saying, we get off next weekend because Antichrist said so. Or maybe it is. The holy people he speaks of is not the Gentile churches. Not our times that are being changed. Not our laws, but God's. And God's people's. We think because prophecy is written in such a way, well, the Antichrist didn't come yet. God's people are not ruling over yet. Some people think they are already. That portions of the prophecy haven't happened already. Prophecy is ongoing. We have the gift of foresight. We can look into a word of God and see, or we could actually look into a newspaper and see prophecies being fulfilled. And we know that they are truth because we see the prophecy of it in the word of God and we see the fulfillment of it. But when it hasn't happened yet, we lean to prophets and prophetesses who say they claim or hold claim to the truth. Churches, buildings, claiming the ownership of these prophecies that are coming down. And it's still a fact that we forget what God is telling us. The original law, the original season, is what we're supposed to be following, not anything else. We're not supposed to become mysterious or follow mysteries, and he's very precise in what we're supposed to follow. So is Jesus. Not traditions, not doctrines, not theologies that create systems, but patterns of night and day, hot and cold. There's a time we see when Paul comes in and he gives report about what he's doing with the Gentiles, how they're coming to Christ. And he's giving a report about Judea. When we read it, it says, the Gentiles who were in this area and that area, and the Gentile. It sort of keeps on lifting up the word Gentile. But I read the Hebrew translation, and it says, I want to report to you that Jews in Judea are coming to Christ in droves, basically, by tens and tens of thousands. They are zealots for the law, and they're following Jesus. They're not talking about some new law that Jesus didn't write yet, that no one knows about yet. In fact, everything that's going on in the New Testament is not talking about what hasn't happened yet, except for maybe revelations and depictions of what will come, like at the day of Pentecost. Events that they were going to experience in their lifetime. It says, those who knew or know the law, the truth, were able to take Jesus at the value of what their law was telling them by thousands and tens of thousands. And they were zealots. They followed the law to a T. So what are we supposed to follow? What are we supposed to know? Some grace that is mystical, that covers as a blanket covering for all things. Everything that we decide in our brain to hold as true. Everything that we decide, that we declare, that we decree. Every foreign whim that we cast out into the air that goes against God's truth. Or do we follow what we were supposed to follow to begin with? But Paul was passionate in trying to explain to us that it doesn't matter that you're circumcised or uncircumcised, but it matters in your heart toward each other for the one true God and for love. Jesus says, I want you to do as I did and more. What did Jesus do? Greater is he, no greater love, that he would lay down his life for his friends. He showed us, he wanted us to love like him. Live in truth like him. Follow his Father like him, because that is agape love, that is true love. In fact, I want you to do it more than I did. Guys, have a great day. I love you. Bye.